Hey there my lovelies, and welcome to my booktube channel, The Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today I'm going to talk about my November wrap-up video. I'm very late to the party. I'm recording this at the beginning of December. So yeah, I was pretty busy, as you all should know from the last video if you watched it. If you didn't watch it, I'm job hunting, so that took a lot of time and effort. So yeah, I've been behind on my reading ever since, which is the reason I only managed to read 3 books in November. And well, not all of them were great. Some of them, or one of them in particular, wasn't really my kind of cup of tea, but we will get to that. And I've got my coffee at the ready. I even got some kekse or cookies, Christmas cookies like you would say in English. And I've learned from the vanilla Kipferl incident about 2 years ago. I put them in here so that I can show it without them falling out. I don't know if any one of you remembers that incident with the vanilla Kipferl, but it was funny, but also not. Anyway, I've got my coffee, I've got my Christmas cookies, and I've the 3 books I want to talk about. I'm just going to take a sip. And then I'm going to put this aside. And well, without further ado, let's just jump into the 3 books I read. And the first book I read and finished in November, finally, was Finlay, Donovan, Knox and Dead by Elle Cosimano. And it was a buddy read with Bia at Mama Needs to Read Romance. And well, yeah, she was done with the book way faster than I was, because, as I already said, I was busy with job hunting and a lot of other things on my plate. So unfortunately we didn't manage to read it together, but it was still a fun buddy read, because Bia, whenever I got a chance to continue to read, I shot a message to Bia and she always answered back, and it was fun. So I love my buddy reads with Bia, and we're already planning to read the 3rd book in January, which will be an amazing start into the new year. And as for what the book was about, well, Finlay Donovan is a writer, and one day a woman overhears her talking to her agent at, I think it was a cafe or something like that, a bistro, and that woman apparently assumes that she is a contract killer and not an author, and hands her a note with a name and a money sum. So yeah, that's how Finlay gets into the weirdest and craziest situations ever. I swear the 2nd book was such a wild ride as well. I don't want to spoil anything here, but basically the focus and what you can read on the blurb is that Finlay is trying to find the person or the contract killer that was set on her ex-husband. And boy, the situations Finlay got into in this book. Every time I think this series couldn't get any wilder, it gets even wilder. And it's such a roller coaster, and there are some plot twists I didn't see coming. It was a fun ride. It was really such a fun ride. I'm having the best time of my life reading those books, and with Bia it's even more fun. Together, to read those books together is so much fun. And well, Finlay tries to find out who might want to off Stephen in the near future. And she, of course, she has the support of Vero, the babysitter of her children, who also happens to be her best friend. And those two, oh my gosh, those two, I love them so much. And well, we already had two love interests in the first book. One of them was Nick, a cop that works with Finlay's sister. And the other one is Julian, a bartender, who's actually, well, you might say a law student who gets to know Finlay in a bar. So yeah, those two love interests were really interesting, and well, I'm pretty certain I know how it's going to play out. I already talked about this with Bia, but in the second book there wasn't really a choice between those two. So I'm very curious how the love triangle will continue in book 3. And which was also interesting is that we finally got a little bit more about Vero and her love life. So I really hope we will read more about that in the third book as well. And yeah, it was crazy. It was so crazy. You definitely should read that series. If you're a Stephanie Plum fan, I think Janet Ivanovic manages to get her heroine into similar crazy situations, at least. Those two series are very different, but from the weird and crazy, they are actually very similar. Anyway, if you like Stephanie Plum, you might like Finlay Donovan as well. I rated this book 4 paws, and yeah, it were 4 great paws. Okay, so the second book I read in November and finished in November was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I hope I pronounced it right now. Interestingly enough, this is a New York Times bestseller. So many people loved this book and raved about it, but I actually could only give it 2.5 paws. And I've had hashtag reasons and a lot of issues with the book. I don't know why no one else saw this. I think I'm one of the few people that wasn't really persuaded by the book and not all that happy how things were handled in here. As for what the plot is about, it's basically about a woman named Alicia Berenson. I hope I pronounced it right. And she is an artist and she draws and creates pictures, and one day she is found by the police standing next to her dead husband's body, and her husband was shot in the head, I think 5 times if I remember it correctly, close range, very messy. And well, she is imprisoned for her husband's murder, but the interesting thing is she never spoke about it. So 7 years fast forward, Alicia is still in a psychiatric ward, and Theo Faber, a psychotherapist, decides that he's the one who can help Alicia and get her at least to admit that she murdered her husband and to talk about that night and what happened. Okay, so first things first, I mean, the premise was interesting and it was done nice. But what I really couldn't get, okay, let's take a coffee for this. I need a coffee to talk about this book because I was so, I don't know. I honestly wondered if I read the same book everyone else did, because for me it totally didn't work. And there were various reasons why it didn't work. For instance, I absolutely didn't like how the psychiatric ward was portrayed, how the psychotherapists were portrayed, because I've worked with psychotherapists for years and no psychotherapist would have said things like the ones did in the book. And quite honestly, if psychiatric wards are like the one in the book, I'm very worried about the poor people that get there. Also, it was kind of striking that all the patients in that ward were female and none of them was male. But in the contrast, or on the other side, you had almost only male psychotherapists or therapists or whatever, and only one of them was a woman, and I think she was named Indira or so, and she was more or less portrayed to be that kind of, I don't know, hippie woman that only wants flowers and the best for everyone. And I don't know, quite honestly, it was so weird because the power shift was so crazy. There were so many women in that ward, but no men, and the men that were in charge and were their psychotherapists. So I totally didn't like that, because if you take a look at real statistics, you will find out, and this pretty easily, you just have to Google it, that 80% of psychotherapists are actually female. So that was extremely unrealistic to me, and also that power shift. And you can tell that some of those men even abused their power in that ward. So I really didn't like that undertone, if you get my drift and my idea. Another thing I didn't like was Theo. Theo was so full of himself. I mean, it's like he's the hero who's going to rescue Alicia, and all the others that tried to get her to talk before must have done something wrong, because he's the hero. So I really didn't like Theo. Theo was a weird man, and well, I think personally quite unhinged for a psychotherapist. I honestly wouldn't want anyone to go to therapy to him. Yeah, I just couldn't. And when the ending came and when everything was resolved, I mean, I'm not spoiling anything here, because apparently the silent patient will have to talk. It wouldn't be a thriller if she wouldn't start to talk in the end. So when everything was revealed and all the things that were mentioned and happened, there were so many unrealistic things that happened in this book, and there were so many plot holes that didn't work out if you thought about them a little bit more. So it really didn't work for me. I think I wrote a very long review about all the things that didn't work for me. I will put it down in the description box below so that you can check it out and see what I didn't like and what didn't work for me. But that book was just, I don't know, Theo was a red flag, and I don't know, I had my issues with the book. So 2.5 paws it is. I know it's a bestseller, but apparently not for me. Okay, anyway, let's move on to a nicer topic and to the last book I read in November, and that was Finlay by Stephanie Garber. And it was the third book in the Caravel series, and I really enjoyed that one. It was once again from Taylor's point of view, and I really liked the two love interests. If you read book 2, you will know that Taylor has a thing for, well, actually she has a thing for legend, for Dante, and she has something running with one of the fates named Yax. He is the Prince of Hearts. And oh my gosh, it was cool. I really enjoyed to be in that world and to see what's happening and where things are going to head. And it was really interesting. I don't want to spoil anything here, which is hard when you read the third book and you're talking to people that didn't or probably didn't read the first one. So I really don't want to spoil anything, but I liked the magic in those books. I liked how Caravel came alive, how it was a game that everyone played and that it was so realistic, and everything, just the magic, the fates. The fates were pretty cruel in this book, even crueler than in the books before. But well, they are supposed to be inhuman and to be immortal, so I'm not really surprised. I liked the ending and how that series well, came together in the end. It was a good ending for the trilogy and I enjoyed it very much. Well, is there anything I can say? I think I gave this 4 paws. Yeah, 4 paws. Because, well, it was a worthy ending for that series. There were things, and here comes a little spoiler. If you don't want to hear it, you can just fast forward until the end of the video. But here comes a spoiler. I really liked that Julian and Scarlett got together in the end again, but quite honestly I called that from the moment in the second book, or was it in the third book, where Scarlett, I think it was the second book, where Scarlett decided that she would give the Lord, or is it the Lord? I don't know, the other man, Nicholas or Nick I think, a chance to win her heart. And when I read that in book 2, I knew that this wasn't going to work out, because we all know that Scarlett will choose Julian. I mean, there was no question about it. So I think I was about 20% into the book when Scarlett realized that she doesn't want the Count or whatever he was, and wants Julian. And I called it from the moment it was mentioned in book 2. So yeah, that was really no surprise, and I was like, of course she is going to choose Julian, of course. But what I really didn't like was how conveniently, well, Julian's competition was disposed of, if you want to say it like that. He dies at the hand of the fallen star, so I don't know. I mean, Scarlett could have chosen Julian without the other man dying. Yeah, it's an author's choice and I'm okay with that, but it was a little bit too convenient, if you ask me. Like, out of the way, out of the heart, or something like this. Anyway, never mind. Here is the ending of the spoiler. I really enjoyed finale, and it was a perfect finale. It was great. It was a really nice ending to the entire series, and yeah, I can't say more than that. 4 paws it is. Okay, so those were the 3 books I read in November. As I already said, I didn't get a lot of reading done because I was busy with real life. But I really hope that I will read more books in December, and so far it's looking okay. So I guess we will see if I have to talk about more books when I do my December wrap-up. Anyway, what did you read in November? Did you read more books than I did? I really hope you did. And which books did you read? Did you enjoy them? Would you recommend some of them to me? Did you already read the books I read and did you like them? Or honestly, I can't be the only one who didn't like The Silent Patient. Please, someone tell me that I'm not the only one. And well, yeah, I think I will just wrap the video up here. I would love to hear your thoughts. Write it down in the comments below. I always answer all of the comments I get, so that would be lovely. And well, I guess we're already at the ending of my video and there's nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye! And we will talk about those 3 books. And I've got my coffee at the ready and I just screwed up and threw